Hello everyone, welcome to Team Enlight's Embrace Current Affairs program. Today we will discuss about three topics picked up from the news. The first one is vaccine hesitancy, what, why and the solution, ethical dilemma associated with the solution, significance and challenges of India-Bhutan relations, and National Human Rights Commission, its structure, functions, limitations and the way forward. The first topic is vaccine hesitancy. It has been picked from the news that PM has urged the country to shed vaccine hesitancy. He has said it out of the concern that if it is not addressed properly, it might derail our effort to contain the ongoing pandemic. So, what is vaccine hesitancy? It is the reluctance to get vaccinated even not having enough availability or access to vaccines. WHO has termed it as one of the threat to global health. Even before the pandemic has begun, globally we have seen rise in cases of measles. As a case study in Kerala, we have seen new cases of diphtheria, both of which has been attributed to vaccine hesitancy. So, from prelims perspective, we need to understand what is vaccine hesitancy, and we also need to understand what is vaccine equity, vaccine nationalism. These can help us to tackle some statements given in prelims question. From mains perspective, this can be asked in a society or ethics paper. They might ask what are the reasons of vaccine hesitancy and solutions for the same. In ethics paper, they can give a case study of some village and might ask us what are the reasons, ethical questions associated with the case, and if you are the DM of the district, what will you do? So, what can be the reasons for this one? Why vaccine hesitancy arises? One is religious beliefs. Second is fear out of the safety concerns or something due to the misinformation spread through social media. Then general lack of scientific timber and even access issue can be connected with vaccine hesitancy, because if a person from rural area want to get vaccinated, he might have to go to city. It might cause hesitancy to get vaccinated. So what can be the solutions? For religious reasons or cultural reason, we can rope in religious leaders to take out of fear. We need to build confidence. How to build confidence? We have case study in India itself, like using panchayat representatives in Odisha, in Jammu Kashmir, etc. Or using folk songs, like that's been employed in Chhattisgarh. And what other thing can be employed? If we think street plays can be employed. Okay. Then how to tackle misinformation? Misinformation can be tackled by using government enabled fact checks like PAB fact check, or using Google, Twitter and other social medias to curb misinformation. For addressing lack of scientific timber, we need a more basic solution or comprehensive solution. Like we need to change how we study itself. Instead of rote learning, we need to promote the culture of asking questions. Instead of learning what is in textbook, we need to change our culture to application based learning. And to promote access, we need to ensure vaccine equity. And there can be also methods like nudge techniques, like our phone call tone, which has been employed now, or vaccine passports, etc., that can be employed to address this vaccine resistance issue. So in our ethics paper, one more criteria we need to understand, like they might ask, and what is the ethical question associated with this solution? Ethical dilemma is the freedom of choice. A person has the freedom of choice to not to take the vaccine, or whether individual is more important or society is more important. We can write about this in the ethical dilemma part of ethics paper. The second topic is India-Bhutan relation. Bhutan is asking for help to vaccinate its population with second dose. The situation is complicated by India's domestic vaccination targets. From exam point of view, we need to understand significance of Bhutan for India and India for Bhutan. Cultural and historical significance. India is called as Bhutan's civilizational partner. We also have connection due to Buddhism. And after independence, there has been India-Bhutan Friendship Treaty, and now also large number of Indian diaspora lives in Bhutan. There is also geographical significance due to border management. About four states, Indian states, has border with Bhutan: Sikkim, West Bengal, Assam, and Arunachal Pradesh. And Bhutan acts as a buffer state between India and China. So Bhutan has high significance due to our security concerns, and there has economic significance for both the countries. For India, Bhutan can act as the market for Indian goods, and for Bhutan, we have been giving them aid in the form in 5-year plans and setting up of hydroelectric power plants, etc. And these hydroelectric power plants plays an important role in India's energy security. The surplus energy produced by hydroelectric power plants in Bhutan can help to bridge the gap between India's energy demand and supply. Bhutan also has an important role to play in environment conservation, as there are contiguous areas of forest between India and Bhutan. Transboundary Manas Conservation Area is such an example, of which one side, like in Bhutan, there is Royal Manas National Park, and on the other side is India's Manas Tiger Reserve. Bhutan also plays an important role in multilateral partnership in various organizations like SAARC and BIMSTEC. And now there is challenges in India-Bhutan relation. There is allegation of India's interference in Bhutan's internal matters, and there is camps of militant outfits set up in these contiguous areas of forest. Chinese continuous claims to border areas like Doklam can also be act as a challenge to this relationship, and even the present vaccine situation is a challenge. China can take advantage of this situation, and matter could be complicated for the relation between India and Bhutan. So what is the way forward? The way forward is, the first thing should be following non-interference principle, so that there is no allegation of big brother attitude by India, and we should help Bhutan to be self-sufficient, so that they no longer need these aids. And we need to find a way to extend vaccine Maitri to Bhutan, as Bhutan also has significant security value to India. We also need to find new areas of cooperation, like extending soft diplomacy and space diplomacy. Our third topic is NHRC, and NHRC has decided to investigate post-election violence in West Bengal. NHRC is a statutory body established under Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. That also provided for creation of State Human Rights Commission as well. The structure of NHRC consists of a chairperson, three members, of which at least one is a woman, and ex officio members. The chairperson must have been a Supreme Court judge or Chief Justice, and is selected by 6-member committee consist of PM, Speaker of Lok Sabha, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, leaders of opposition of Lok Sabha, leaders of opposition of in Rajya Sabha, and Union Home Minister. NHRC has certain functions and powers. NHRC can act as a civil court for investigating grievances regarding violation of human rights. It has the power to interfere in any judicial proceedings involving violation of human rights. It can visit any jail or other institutions under state government to see the living condition of inmates. It can review safeguards provided under Constitution and recommend appropriate remedial measures. It also undertakes and promotes research in field of human rights. It works to spread human rights literacy. It also has the authority to recommend payment of compensation of or damages. There is a criticism that NHRC is only a toothless tiger. It is because of certain limitations of NHRC, such as NHRC doesn't have any mechanism of investigation. So, to investigate the cases, it has to depend upon central or state government, and it can only make recommendation, no power to enforce decision. Therefore, it cannot render any practical relief to the aggrieved party, and it cannot investigate complaint registered after 1 year of incident. And many times, even the recommendation given by NHRC is outrightly rejected by the government. Thus, NHRC becomes as a post-retirement destination for judges and bureaucrats. To make NHRC a true watchdog of human rights violation in the country, we need a complete revamping. First thing, its decision must be made more enforceable. Second, it needs to have an independent cadre of staffs with appropriate experiences. Its composition also need to be changed by including civil society members and activists, and changing the old and archaic colonial legacy laws will also help in better functioning of NHRC. That's all for today. Thank you.